What's up guys, it's Mindset Performance Coach Adam Carmichael here. In today's video, you're going to learn the difference between high stakes players and mid stakes players when it comes to mindset. Now before we dive into this video, if you do get some value from it, make sure you hit the like button and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos. Now this video was motivated after a conversation with a few players on this topic, and we're talking about what separates the high stakes players often from the mid-stakes players, all right? And often the differences in talents aren't that great. Often these players are very talented, they've got good work ethic, and often the difference is their mindset and their attitude, the way they approach the game from a mindset perspective. So I was thinking about this for a while, and one of the things I've noticed from working with both mid-stakes and high-stakes players for the last 3-4 years now is that the high-stakes players very often have less of an ego. All right, and that might sound counterintuitive because you probably assume that if you reach high stakes, you have this massive ego and you're a Phil Hellmuth type character who wants to beat everyone and show how good you are. But that's often not true. It's very often not what I've seen the case when I work with high stakes guys. On the flip side, mid stakes guys have a big ego. They've always got something to prove. They always want to be the best. They always want to get one over on you and be competitive and beat you. All right, so the high stakes guys, so when I'm talking about ego is basically I want to win and I want you to lose. I want my identity to be around being the best and winning. And also it's like protective, right? So it creates divide. It means that you're worse than me, I'm better than you. So the ego puts you up and puts other people down. All right, so I feel like the mid-stakes players generally focus way more on these attributes. They want to beat people and beat them down. Whereas high-stakes guys, on the flip side of having a big ego, they generally are just very curious. All right, they're very curious people and they want to learn. All right, so they put the ego on side and they go, wait a second, if I've got a big ego, that's going to shut my doorway to learning and getting better. And on the flip side, they actually just are curious people. They just want to learn and get better. Whereas on the mid-stakes guys are often less curious because they've got this ego that's just like, well, I'm better than you, you're worse than me. Or I'm going to show you how good I am. And as a result, that shuts down opportunities to learn. All right, so it's all kind of wrapped around the kind of ego narrative. But I think like the high stakes players, often they've proven to themselves they're a great player. They've often got respect of their peers, if the peers they care about, and they're more focused on themselves and getting better. So as a result, the high stakes players are always able to learn. They're always looking to learn from anyone. All right. So if a good high stakes player is playing a bad opponent, he doesn't shut off and go, oh, this guy's awful, I'm just going to destroy him. He's trying to think, okay, he may do some things that are counter to what the high stakes player is used to, and the high stakes player will be, oh, that was interesting, I wonder what I can learn from that. So the best high stakes players can learn from anyone, whereas the mid stakes guys almost like label people. There's like, you're good, you're bad, and they'll learn from the good guys who they respect, but they won't learn from the guys who are quote unquote bad. All right, and I picture this myself when I was playing mid-stakes in particular. I would label a lot of players as good and bad. If they were good, I'd go, okay, that was a good move. I can possibly learn from that. But if I had labeled someone as bad, it would be like, no matter what he did, I wouldn't respect it. And as a result, I'd miss out on so many opportunities because they do things that were really good against my strategy. And what I should have done is been, maybe I don't rate this player overall, but what he did there, is that working or is it not? And remove yourself, like detach yourself from the kind of ego and the kind of personalization. You go, was that move in isolation good or bad against me? So even if you're playing a fish, like the worst player you could possibly play, you may do a check call, lead all in for double pot, which might be completely out of sync with what you're used to and what's normal. But you're like, wait a second, could that be good? Could that work under some context? Could that be good against my range right now? And think about it and be really curious of it. And I feel like the high stakes guys are much better at that than the mid stakes guys. Like I said, I can picture when I was playing mid stakes, I was quite bad at this. I was unable to learn from players who I classed as bad, in all honesty. And I think a lot of players are the same. They almost like shut down that curiosity when they don't think somebody's good. They've almost got like a tiering system. It's like, okay, these guys I'm better than, so I'm just gonna beat you down and get good results on you. These guys are really good, so I can learn from them. And there's some guys in between who I can learn from, but it's basically the high guys and the mid guys. All these guys I'm above or better than, you got nothing to teach me. I have nothing to learn from you. And you miss out on so much. All right, you miss out on so many opportunities to improve and get better. All right, so you got to drop your ego. You got to go, okay, this guy, I might not respect his game, but what can I learn from him? In everyone, every spot, every opportunity, every player you're up against, there's opportunities to learn. All right, you can learn about how to play against their style. You can learn new things over and over. I think very often we class our game as good, like we're the benchmark. If they play like I play, like I want to play, they're good, they're solid. If they do things that are out of line, which I wouldn't do, he's bad. All right. And I picture myself when I was battling this guy heads up sitting goers, and I didn't rate his game, and he was doing everything which was wrong in my opinion. And I remember playing him, and I wasn't getting good results. He was beating me for like 30, 40 games, and I could tell my strategy wasn't doing well against him, and I was getting so frustrated because in my head I was like, this guy's bad, and because he's bad, I deserve to win. Not because I'm exploiting him, not because I'm doing the right things, but because he's doing things wrong, I just win by default. All right, like I'm some GTO bot that just wins by default. And in reality, what was happening is he was making a lot of mistakes, but I wasn't punishing them. And as a result, his mistakes were actually doing quite good. All right, he had like this massive raising strategy pre-flop, huge C-bet, and I wasn't putting the pressure on the right areas. As a result, he was getting away with it, and he was actually doing well against me. It wasn't that I stopped him and went, okay, his strategy's not very good in terms of what I think it should be, but how do I exploit it? And I started thinking I need to actually do things against that. And once I actually stopped and after the game and reflected, I was like, actually, some of the things he was doing was actually really good. And the way I was playing against him, it was actually a good adaptation for him to really push some of these extreme boundaries and do things that I was classing as really bad. It was actually working quite well against me. And that got me opened my eyes to, wait a second, how many other players do I do this against? How many times did I shut myself off from learning because I've got an ego and I think they're bad and I'm good, and as a result, like I'm not learning. All right, so for yourself, have a think. Which type of players do you learn the most from? Do you learn most from the bad players or the guys who are really good? You find for most players that it's easy to learn from the good players because like, oh yeah, I respect this guy. He's almost like, when I'm playing him, it's almost like a coaching session. But the bad guys, I'm like, I just label them. All right, so watch yourself next time you're playing. Watch yourself shut off that curiosity. Watch yourself try to label somebody as bad. Generally, when it goes to showdown on the river, showdown happens. Watch what your mind does. Does your mind go, oh, curious, what did he have there? How did he play his hand that way? Was that a good move? Or does your mind go, idiot, that was stupid. Why did he do that for? Oh my God, this guy's bad. Do you go straight to the chat and start going, idiot, why did you do that? You're so bad. All right, and some people would go as far as that to like kind of type in the chat to rant on it. All right, so you find the high stakes players do this a lot less. Obviously, this is a stereotype. There's going to be some high stakes guys who have got massive egos, and there's going to be some mid-stakes guys who have completely no ego. But overall, I've noticed like a good enough trend line to create this video on it, that overall the higher stakes guys generally have less ego and they're more curious, more open to learning, and they treat every person as someone to learn from, and their main objective is, how do I improve and how do I get better? That's it. So when you've got those as your frameworks, how do I improve and how do I get better, you're asking different questions. So now when someone does something, you're like, oh, could this be used to help me improve my game? Could that be good? Could that be bad? And all of a sudden, everything's this like curiosity box of what can I learn? How can I get better? On the flip side, if you've got a big ego and you're like, I'm awesome, I'm good, and I'm gonna crush everybody, then all of a sudden, like you're shutting down opportunities to learn because you're not looking for it. You're literally, when somebody does something you don't agree with or don't like, and they get rewarded, generally they get rewarded for it, that's when it really annoys you. You get pissed off because they shouldn't be doing this, and that's a bad move, and that's an idiot way to play it. And as a result, you miss opportunities to learn. All right, so if you're a mid-stakes guy, ask yourself, how can you be more curious? How can you learn from different types of players? And what you'll find is it's the worst player, like they call it the worst, the players who you label as bad or not good, that you're generally shutting down opportunities to learn from. All right, and it's all coming from your ego, and you want it to be right, and you want it to have the dominance over them. All right, guys. So going forward, if you are a mid-stakes guy, watch this, observe it, ask yourself how you can be more curious, how you can continue learning. If you're a high stakes guy, let me know if this resonates with you as well. If you are someone who you feel is always curious, if you've actually noticed this trend line yourself. I've noticed this in dozens and dozens of players now, so I thought it would be worth letting you guys know about. So let me know if you guys agree on it. And also, before you go, make sure you smash the like button so the algorithm likes you and you get more future videos. There's also a free quiz in the description. If you guys want to know what level your poker mindset is right now, click on that link, go for the quiz, and it'll tell you what level you're at and how to improve it going forward. All right, guys, thanks for watching to the very end. And there's going to be plenty more coming from me very soon.